You're listening to Radio Channel Islands. Jersey, Guernsey.
Hi, it's Tina Turner. Stay tuned for news of an exclusive interview about my new album, Wildest Dreams.
Oh, I just love that. I got her to record that little promo piece for us, and I'm just chuffed. So chuffed that she did that for us.
Oh, she's just lovely. She's just lovely. Lovely woman.
Today we're going to be continuing the second half of the conversation that I recorded with you, Sharon, in the studio. She was on the phone from the continent, and we had quite a wide-ranging conversation about her new album project. But today we're going to talk about the softer side, I think you could say, of the legend Tina Turner.
Yes, Terry, that's right. I'm so excited. I'm very honoured that you gave me a chance yesterday to ask us some of the questions for us ladies. And I know that Harold was talking to you about, giving me more opportunities
Harold.
to,
Sorry
I'm a
about...
woman hearing raw. I want to be able to, interview these amazing guests that we're able to get. And so,
story about
I'm
Harold
so
later.
honored that I got the chance to ask her some questions about her career, some of her male co-stars, sexy stars, and just her life in Europe, and just, kind of what it's like to be Tina Turner.
Yes. Well, Sharon, I have to say your husband Harold put the proverbial echo in my ear at the pub last night, and I wasn't going to hear the end of it, so I said, fine, we're going to call her back, we're going to ask her some more questions, we're going to let Sharon, this could go on your demo reel. I know sometimes you've contemplated divorcing Harold and moving to London and, trying to get a radio gig there, so, add this to your portfolio.
Stop, don't say that.
Explore your wildest dreams with me, Tina Turner.
Well, you might have been able to tell that wasn't me speaking there. That was our guest from yesterday, Tina Turner, and we're going to continue with the second half of our conversation. I even let old Sharon, the old babe, get a couple questions in. So, Sharon.
Stop it. Oh, my goodness. You're just full of spit and vinegar.
Well, I don't know. I think Harold's out there in the bushes waiting to knock my knob off. I have to be careful with Sharon. Funny story about Harold, Sharon's husband. Like I say, he was putting an acorn in my ear about getting his wifey on the horn with Tina Turner and asking her some questions, but also he was giving me quite a bit of grief about the way that I characterised my relationship with Tina Turner's manager, Roger Davies, insinuating, he said, that I was, chums with him back to my, university days in Australia. And he reminded me, that was only a brief stint in my career when my mother's husband, second husband, my stepfather, took us down to the Melbourne area, it was a brief moment in my time. I'm a proud Englishman. I'm a proud
I've heard that story.
But he thought I was maybe making it out that I was better friends with Raj than I was with him.
He got jealous.
Sorry, Harold.
He got jealous.
It might be that I wish I was better friends with Roger Davies than I was with you.
Stop putting your
My
head
old
down.
friend from my growing up in the state projects of I'm not even going to say the municipality of southern England, but granted, Rog is a much more glamorous friend. And I do have to credit Rog too for giving me my lifelong dedication and commitment to the sport of cricket, which Roger's just such a avid sportsman of cricket. And
really an
I actually went to one of his gala events where actually he sponsors a school that teaches cricket skills to blind young people.
It's precious.
So I opened up my satchels for him and really shown up. I emceed an event for that blind cricketers charity. Anyway, enough of us rambling along. The people, as Tina calls them, the people are waiting to hear from her. They don't want to hear us, old codgers. So, Sharon, let's lead off with you talking to her yesterday about some some
Yes.
girl talk.
Girl talk. Oh my goodness, what would you know of girl talk? Well, you probably know a lot about girl talk, I think. Anyway, I wanted to tell
with that?
Tina, you know, that so many times when I see like a Madonna or, you know, even Cyndi Lauper up on stage, I feel like they're trying to take my man. I feel like they're making googly eyes at hair. They're trying to lift up their skirts. They're trying to just, you know, put one on.
Oh dear.
All the women in the arena trying to take on men, and Tina's not like that. I've never felt like that. So I asked her a little bit about how she does that, how she's sexy for men and women, but she never intimidates us.
Yes, very sexy.
I remember when it started, and I must tell this story because it is important. People think that I am a sex symbol and I'm being sexy for the men. I'm not. I'm there for my audience, all men and the women. And I started years ago to perform to women, and I found that I got a better response from the people because I didn't have that attitude of women thinking that I'm shaking it up for the guys, you know. And so then I didn't have to worry about that anymore after I mastered the fact that the people, I'm not trying to be sexy or trying to turn anybody on. I'm there for performers for everybody to have a good time for the moment.
Oh, yes, a good time. That's exactly what all will have if they go see you, and I understand you're about to go out on a massive European tour. That's what you're going to have is a good time, a little bit of sexy time. Speaking of someone who gives me a little bit of sexy time is Mel Gibson. Oh, you might not want to know this,
No, I do.
Terry, but
I do.
Your friend Harold, we have. Have you ever heard of a whole pass?
Ooh,
I have a whole pass
I bristle.
for Mel Gibson.
I bristle.
Because he is, I think he is an amazing Australian actor, and I think Harold respects him and probably is somewhat sexually aroused by Mel Gibson himself.
It wouldn't surprise me.
So I wanted to ask Tina a little bit about what it was working with that amazingly sexy Australian hunk.
Speaking of Harold's predilections, he had a little something for Cliff Richards back in the day, but I'm going to leave that for another show.
Terry. Tina, tell me a little bit about what it was like working with Mel Gibson. He's hot stuff.
Well, us girls, we know how to ask those questions with that. Mel, the first time I saw him when he walked into pre-production, I thought he looked like a high school boy. First of all, he appears bigger on screen, which most of us do, and he was wearing just very loose trousers and a shirt and just simple shoes. And I thought, oh my goodness, I actually really loved his personality. He's very fun and I believe very loving and very honest, and I think he's a good person. But it wasn't sexy for me, and I wasn't attracted to him in a sexual kind of way.
Right.
So that answers the question for the girls. But I enjoyed working with him.
Well, he's a cutie, and I see what you mean. And you're also quite a bit older than him too, and he probably likes the young ones. But one thing I was curious about is when are we going to see Tina in the movies again? I know that you did your biopic with Disney. That was just a couple of years ago that we saw that in the theaters. When are we going to see Tina in another anti-entity type role?
I think the movie people don't have an eye on me yet in that sense. I just told a story which I have to tell you. Actually, the movie was Fortress. It was a script very close. Actually, I had made time for it and everything. And unfortunately, we ran into some problems with directors and so forth. But the part for me, they had for me, and I was very excited. I was a very strong woman. I gave, really support to the women and the men there, and I even had a section of my own, where people came to me and talked. Of course I did. Guess what? It was a hooker. I thought, what? I was just so ready for it because I love this movie, Fortress. It's fantastic. And so I passed on it because they still cannot see me doing any, even after Mad Max, they still just want to place me in that odd place. And, I'm thinking, well, you have to work your way up, Tina, in movies. Well, I'm starting a bit late to work my way up, and I don't know if I want it that bad to work my way up from being a hooker. I'll work my way up from anything else. There's Thelma Louise and all of that. There's a lot out there that I can do other than being a hooker. I just don't, even Tommy, I was a hooker, but I wasn't actually hookering. I was a mad woman. So even if they make me a hooker mad woman is okay, but not really just sitting back there giving advice and the little room is over there ready for you. No, thank you. No. I've earned more than that. So that's actually everything I've gotten has been for those parts. So I think that when I say that Hollywood don't really have an eye for me yet, they haven't found. They said to me when we get a part, all of them, Roger and I went to Hollywood and talked to all of them, and they said, Tina, we promise you, when there's a part, we will ask you. And the Bond, the company that produced 007, he came at the premiere and he said, I almost hired you for Ghost, he said. That was between Whoopi Goldberg and me. So now I've got someone that's having a look. So if the boss starts to looking around from these movies, then I know that there's a chance of something that will come. It was great, the Whoopi part. I thought Whoopi was great in Ghost, but it would have been good for me too.
Oh, Ghost! I love that movie. I could see myself in Ghost. That could be like, you in trouble, girl. You in trouble, girl.
Okay, rein it in, Sharon. Sorry for my sidekick there, but you were doing a good job up until then, Sharon.
Well, thank you, Terry. I'm gonna center myself now. I wanted to talk a little bit since your stage work, is going like gangbusters, and you had a bit of a break. And now you're about off to the races to do another huge world tour. And do you feel rested, or are you excited to get back there? What do you wish you were doing? Is Tina excited about hitting the road?
I'm a pacer, I just sort of, I've got a lot of, how do you call that, energy. What do you call it? Restless energy or whatever. Yeah, and once it's like a horse when he's ready to take off. He's pacing, he's prancing, just in gear, ready to go and do it. Yeah, I like my work, and when I'm ready to do it, I'm ready to do it. Even when I'm not well, there's something there that drives me to get it on. It's my life.
I bet it is so much fun. I would love to be a Tina Turner backup dancer, one of you girls, or even in the band. I bet they have a ball. I bet it is like a global. I love the Spice Girls, but I bet being on the road with Tina Turner is just beyond fabulous.
We get on the bus, we ride with the guys, we wrestle with them, we play, we all eat together sometimes. And I walked into my dressing room once, and one of the musicians says, "No rock bitches in here." We laugh, we play. Even on stage, they do naughty things. Like they'll play a chord that I don't like, and immediately I'll hear it and look at them like, because they're just doing it to be naughty. But to really think if you would do something like that for some of the other acts, you would be fired. But I give them the space to play and be themselves and enjoy it as well. Like my Timmy Capella, I'm going to have him to do the Spanish.
Timmy Capella, with the chest, with the olive oil on the chest.
Antonio Banderas. This is hard to say, isn't it? Especially with chewing gum.
I was going to say something about the,
but anyway,
the gum
I can
earlier.
see him now. Oh, I love to do that. He's just a big muscle man. So yeah, you see, we make it a playground. We make it fun. And if the audience isn't on, fine. We get into a rehearsal and we play amongst ourselves and we make it happen.
Fabulous. Anything new that we might see up there on stage of our old Tina? Anything new that you might be including in this tour?
What I want now is, if I don't feel like dancing, if I don't feel like making a particular move, then the girls can do it. My attitude, why I added one more girl for the three of them to take the load if it's one of those nights when it's, not a great night for me. And I feel they can do it. It was a perfect example this time. I said to the guys, I didn't have time to get in for the television show to do the choreography. I said, but the girls are doing it. I'll pick up something. And that's the attitude I want to take. I don't want to wear myself out. I want to really enjoy this tour. And I'm going to put the load on them. And it's good because they're young, they're pretty, they got great bodies, they're perfect for the crowd. I even added a white girl because I've got a mixture of an audience.
Might I suggest Harold?
Be a desire for the guys to have for a white girl to be there.
Okay.
So it's
Harold.
A set of twins. Which are very
Take note.
And their names are Karen, Sharon, and Cynthia. Cynthia's the new one. Can they dance? Cynthia actually worked with Janet Jackson. Roger found all three girls because I said to him, I'm not going to take the responsibility of these girls complaining. If they complain, they come to you. So they're fine. No complaining. They're fine. They're not grumbling. They just do as they're told, and that's it. And they're enjoying it. I'm happy to have them. They're not a problem. They all like children. do as they're told, and I think they'll be able to make it happen for me. They have the right elements.
Oh, I bet they do have the right elements.
Very.
Roger has some good taste in girls. Don't you, Roger?
Well, don't listen to him, Tina. But maybe about talking a little bit about what all the hits that your fans are just waiting to hear you trot out on stage again. What musically maybe will you be doing a little differently on this tour?
Well, I want to do a medley this time. I want to try to really put together a really good, strong, exciting medley, because medleys can become boring because you've got the kids up there, or the audience up there. I speak of kids because they're the ones always down here jumping and moving around. And then you got to come down for a medley. So the medley's got to be good. I mean, it can't be just throw songs out there at them. So I want to try to capture some of the older songs in the form of a medley, except the ones that's very exciting and the ones that I want people to hear. So it's almost like balling up your fist and pulling out a string of the good ones, because I must play some of the new ones. But the hardest part, until the album is coming out, until the album is actually out and the people are used to hearing it, it's hard to play it on stage. So I want to make sure that the people are a bit more familiar with the album. So what I'll do is I'll do a running order, and I'll make spaces for those songs to be put in when the album is released at a certain time, and I think it'll work. But running orders don't actually happen until you precisely know what is happening with the music. And sometimes when it's released, and then we find out how well it's going or how much is being played, and then we slot it in.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I love fashion, and I know you love fashion. And one of the best things about seeing Tina Turner on tour is all of your fabulous on-stage costumes. Do you call them costumes? All of your looks, all of your haute coutures, they say, in the continent, right? But I love, and I follow Catler, I subscribe to OK Magazine, and I'll sometimes see you at the Milan and the Parisian fashion shows. So tell me, do you pick out looks at these shows for tour? Well, tell me a little bit about the fashion side of Tina on tour.
It's about time to go on stage, and I'm trying to collect stage clothes and looks and so forth. And so a time like that is when it's time to catch those shows and try to find out who's coming up with something different. And I think you're speaking of the John Galliano show. And he's got a great corset there. I want him to make for me. It was absolutely, that's the one that really stood out. Aside from everything else, it was absolutely superb. He is really fresh and new. I think he is fantastic.
He is a fantastic young, sartorial, gifted designer. I know you've had the chance to work with so many fascinating fashion figures, from Alaya, who's actually one of the few people who's shorter than I am. But do you have a favorite look? Because you are that kind of quintessential blend of fashion meets rock and roll. Do you have a favorite look from over your years of your career?
Private Dancer album, Private Dancer performance, the little jean jacket. I tell you, I was rock and roll. I always wanted to be rock and roll because, as you know, I always did rhythm and blues, but we changed it, and I was basically rock and roll on stage, but I wasn't singing rock and roll songs. And Private Dancer was the moment of my life when I arrived at being a true rock and roll singer, which is what I wanted. It was the dream of that. And all of it just came by chance, the jacket, the little dress, and the whole thing. It all just came together. So one shot was taken in Paris, and someone wrote something there. And I still have it because it was that moment that I arrived. I would say maybe this might be second to it, but I always enjoy my work. I make sure I do because I'm out there doing it, and I have to have fun. And that comes across as well. But that's what I said about this album. It's so much fun. It's serious, and then it's naughty, and then it's energy, and it's the same as my guys. They're going to have fits when they get this. They're going to love it, actually. We all just have a good time with certain songs and lines, and it's just such a rapport between me and my musicians with the songs that I choose.
Oh, dear. Well, we got a little bit of a mishmash of everything on that answer. What we call a meandering interview. I'd blame Sharon, but I think Tina's probably a little tired from all her phone interviews.
Stop, Gary. No, but seriously, Tina, getting back to one of my passions, like I said, I have a passion for passion. And I just wanted to know, how does Tina Turner dress around the house? Or around your stately south of France manor?
Well, jeans, And also because I care about myself. I want to look good to myself. I want to look the best that I can. I work on it. I think about it. I'm just talking to the girls now. If you want to look good, you got to care about yourself. You can't do it for your husband or your man. You've got to look in the mirror and feel that you look good to yourself. And you have to want to look good to yourself. And you must start with, when you get up during the day, is by putting on something where you look as good as you can, depending on what it is you have to do. And it all starts there, and then you just move forward with it. You just can't give up because you have a family and the responsibility of taking care of kids in a house. And that's how I stay alive.
So true, so true. Because as women, I mean, we are always caregiving. I have 2 grown boys, but I have Terry and Harold, and they're half-grown boys. And I need to remind myself sometimes, Sharon, you need to take time for beauty, for taking care of your skin, for trying on some lingerie, for just, pampering yourself, I'm just wondering, thinking about all of your different incarnations, you have reinvented yourself somewhat for each album and each project. What was your favourite Tina Turner phase? What album or phase do you look back on most fondly?
Yeah, I thought my best stage was the Foreign Affair stage, because I loved it so much. It was just the time and the epitome of any stages that I'd had. And I couldn't get Mark to understand, or Mr. Fisher to understand what I was looking for. I like the Ark, the big building on the road here that is just rented. Thank goodness, I love that building. And I wonder why they couldn't get it off the ground. And I wanted my stage to feel like that with me on top of it. I wanted, when you walk into the back of the hall, the first thing you would see was this Ark-looking thing, and then it's where I'd be on top. And he couldn't get it quite. I kept making forms. Finally, he came to the south of France. And I turned a pot upside down because, we're in the process of building, and everything is sitting around so you can make examples. And I turned the pot upside down as one of those that's made just like an ark. It comes right up and had ridges, and it would look like steps. And then right at the top, and he says, "Oh, a pot upside down." So that's how we managed to get it, which I hope it feels like that. And another surprise of how I'm getting out in the audience to be out there with the people, to actually get and stand out there with them. And there's another entrance for GoldenEye that's very special, I think. I've done everything for all of that except I haven't gotten my costumes together yet. Well, I've been too busy getting everybody else together. But that's what I must do. I must make sure that my house is in order, and then I get myself in order.
Yes, it's so important to have your house in order. And you've touched on a little bit. You said Foreign Affair was one of your favorite phases because you were transitioning to life on the continent with your boyfriend Erwin, who I met. He's a lovely bloke. But also you touched on how you've moved recently. I believe that's your south of France home that you were talking about Mr. Fisher visiting. But also you recently moved to Zurich with Irvin, your boyfriend. How has that been, leaving Köln, as it were? I know Sharon has some links pre-Harold to Köln. She had a Teutonic lover, but do you miss Little Köln?
Yeah, after I moved, the first time I went back, I wasn't thinking about the fact of the movement of flying or whatever, and I thought, I'm not going home, and I felt really emotional somewhere, and there was a bridge that was being built when I left, and the bridge was finished, and I thought, oh, my Cologne, I felt, I really felt my little town. I really feel I missed it. I go back. I have friends there now. Normally, I've just gone back for business, but I still have friends there, and I go back for it. And I'm sure that, I think they're going to be happy to see me. I mean, it's been a long time. I've just lived there and not entertaining at all. And now for me to come back as on stage, I think they'll be happy to see me. I'm happy to go back.
Oh, I'm sure the Germans seem to love Tina Turner. They always have. I was a little curious about what your impressions are being an American living abroad, living as a European with a European man. How do they differ, the States and Europe?
Yeah, it was a dream come true, actually. I've always loved Europe. It was just something special. Maybe it's because it's the total opposite of America, but it's just and to be able to live in different countries in Europe, it's not very difficult because it's not as far spread as States or in America. But Yes, I have a strong affinity for her.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love the continent myself, and I'm sure I feel like they have a kind of reserve that I know I personally lack. But do they leave you alone in Cologne, in Zurich now where you are? Do they let you have a life? Do you have a normal life, Tina?
That's all I have. I mean, everything is out there now since the movie, right? When I'm not working, I like a low profile. I like to drive the street. I want to go to, sometimes when I personally want to go to the market and see what they got. They might have some cookies on the shelf that nobody would ever see that I want.
Cookies,
it's
too.
something about walking in a market
Cookies.
with the trolley and looking and seeing all kinds of goodies.
And cookies.
And when you're in the papers all the time, you can't do it because you're right in the public's eye. You're right there in their faces. They look here and they look there and they see you, and you just have no peace. This photographer, we haven't gotten yet, but we're going to get him. We've got a little gun that's not a bullet. It sounds like a bullet. I have a neighbor there that's just below, and she said, I saw this man with a motorbike. They're looking. I didn't know he was watching us because we all had a bit of theft down there, and she didn't know what it was. And so we found out that he wasn't on the mountain over there. He's down on the road. He's not up top where we thought he might be. And this is the same one that photographed me years ago when I was indecent, just getting up ready for airport, and I hadn't decorated the house. It was just as it was, and there was an area where they didn't have doors. You could look straight into the bathroom area because these people didn't have to worry about that kind of thing. And I was actually shocked. Roger came into the dressing room once and said, no, someone told me, and then I said something to Roger. He goes, I didn't want to upset you, and he showed me this magazine where it showed me step by step. I got out of bed, I stood at the sink, preparing myself. I went outside, and I had to wash my hairpiece, and I had the sun drying, fresh air, and the whole thing. I was holding Medusa in my hand, so to speak. I thought, what? I couldn't get it together because where my house is, I thought there was no view for a camera. Well, this man found one, and he has consistently worked that area to get photographs of me. So now that we know where he is, I said, everybody was, we're going to go and puncture his tires. I said, no, we're not. We're going to go down there when he's there. We're going to harness him in, Brian and all the workers, and then we're going to get the gun. I'm going to walk in like a Mad Max. And I'm going to say, you have taken all these photographs. I'm going to really scare them. They're not going to shoot the ground first to make them think the gun is real, right?
Be careful,
Wait.
Tina.
Oh, I shouldn't say it.
Oh, you're gonna
because
be-
then he'll know the plan. Don't write it. Don't tell. But we're planning to get him in a fun kind of way.
Don't want you to get in trouble.
And I'll just have to be careful from now on. I'm trying to plant trees on that side where he won't have as much access. But you know what? Those guys are like cancer. They know how to get in. They just find a place. But I have to work harder with making sure now that I'm aware that he might be there and just deal with it. That's how they make their money. That's what they told Diana. I got Princess Diana. She said, why are you harassing me, according to the tabloids? And they said, well, this is how I feed my children. I'm a photographer, and I take these pictures. And if you take that attitude like that, you know that they're only doing their jobs.
True. Oh, I love Lady Di, and I think you are a class act, just like she is. I wanted to you actually jogged my memory last night. I was watching Sky TV, and they were re-airing Mad Max Thunderdome, or Beyond Thunderdome. Well, it was amazing. I watched it again, and I took some notes because I just love that movie. It has so many scenes that I wish I were you. I quote the movie to Harold all the time, and I just imagined you confronting those paparazzos in your robe in the south of France, and you're standing there, wig in hand, and if you'll humor me, I'd like to reenact a bit of the movie.
Here she goes.
As you, as anti-entity, confronting the paparazzi.
She was practicing this all morning.
What is this? What is this? You think I don't know the law? Wasn't it me who wrote the law? And I say that this man has broken the law. Right or wrong, we had a deal. And the law says, bust the deal, face the whale.
Oh, dear. Well, she's a very good sport, Tina. You're a very good sport to put up with that nonsense, Sharon. Your fault wrong. I know it's a little different talking to Sharon and me, but do you get tired of talking to the media? Do you get tired of doing these radio interviews and Top of the Pops and all of these appearances? Does it wear you out? Do you tire of it, Tina?
Now, put yourself in my place. I've been in the business nearly 35 years, or maybe even more. And I cannot get past one tour without doing press. What can I say? How much more can I say in interviews? And sometimes I'm asked questions that I have to think very quick to try to give an answer. There's times, of course, like when you embarrassingly forget someone's name. There's a bit of stress involved with press. And then you never know when you do an interview for the newspaper or whatever it is, and they really write something up that you didn't mean. You might have said it, but you didn't mean it. And they know you didn't mean it, but they just can twist it a little bit. Press is very hard. It's needed, of course, and I realize that, but that's the only downside. If I could only get through without doing press, but it's not possible. It's not comfortable. I don't like talking about myself. It's important to talk about the songs and all of that, but when they start really pinching around the other stuff, the private life and so forth, it gets a bit uncomfortable, And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people that have a problem with it, but we have to do it. It's that part that goes with it.
Right. Oh, Tina, I hope I didn't offend you or pry into any of your personal areas too much, but I do want to touch on, just like as we head to the end of a decade and the end of a millennia, I just wanted to, you seem like a very wise, grounded woman. I know you're a Buddhist, a practitioner of Buddhism, and I was curious kind of what your take on the world today is.
Well, it's about to be the turn of the century. I think a lot of positives and negatives will be changed in the turn of the century. Possibilities depends on your karma. Depends on one's life and their life condition. Depends on how hard they work, how determined they are, how strong they are in making their dreams come true. The answer to your question is, I think that hard work and determination, no matter who or what, you can make it happen if you work hard enough and at it, I think, and not giving up. I was asked a question earlier today, and someone thought that I might have been bitter. I don't have time for bitterness one shouldn't have time for bitterness when you're trying to be successful or trying to get to a point, And all of those things are just pushed aside. And so one view, what you want, work towards it, So that's my attitude.
I love that. I love that. I have a lot of inspirational, I have a kind of a board that I keep quotes that I like from like Mahatma Gandhi and just, the Dalai Lama, and tell me a little bit about kind of how important dreams have maybe been in your life, and how you've held to those dreams. You touched on that. Talk a little bit about dreams.
My desire, what I wanted. I was one of those little girls that had, if you told me, how can I just tell you this? I'll make an example. If you described a house to me and you told me every detail, I would magnify it by 100 times or something. I've always had a greater sense of things, and nothing was ever enough in the sense of my imagination. So there was no one pushing me. It was just something that I wanted. When I went to movies, I thought, that and this and that. And this, understand what I mean? And I took from the movie stars and the glamour and all of that. And I wanted that. Not that I'm that glamorous, but I took just enough from it of what I wanted, from what I saw around me in terms of movies, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that I was just powered by wanting to be more, wanting to be better than what I was, which was difficult without having your parents around you, And I just never gave it up. Even in those times, I made things as nice as possible. You see what I mean? So it was something that I wanted.
Right. Oh my goodness, Tiny, guess what? You're such an inspiration. I'm always asking myself, are you happy, Sharon? Sharon, are you happy? I'm going to ask you the same thing. Tina, are you truly happy?
Yes, I'm happy with myself. If that's the question, I think you're saying that the attitude that I have about the wisdom that I have of my life, I know that I've grown. I know that my attitude has a lot to do with what I've gone through. because there's a message and a learning that comes through all of the years of your what you do. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm able to take that attitude on with it. Yeah.
Great, great. Well, you have every reason to be happy, and we, Sharon and I, and our listeners, we are certainly happy for you, Tina. You're a delight to have. I definitely want to let you get going here. I know you have a lot of press. I also don't want my old chum Roger Davies getting mad at me as he did one time when I kept one of his acts, the M People. Also, it kind of happened with Sade. Kept them on the line too long, talking away, and the word got back to him that I wasn't respecting his artist's time.
I remember that. We do prattle on. Me and Terry, we have a gift for the gab, as they say.
Yes. Well, let's remind people, you have a big year ahead, Tina, as we close. I know they always want us to cover kind of what you have coming up. We know you have the tour. Tell us a little bit about what's in store for the end of the year, the holidays, and into 1996.
Well, after we finish this tour, there'll be a break because I'm sure I'll need one. It's around Christmas, and that's not a good time for singing for me because I like the Christmas season. And then afterwards, we go to America for some dates. And then depending on how well everything is going and how I'm feeling, really, I'm sure we will cover areas of Australia because that's been a big market for me. And but I'm just taking it step by step after the main tour, you see, because the Stragons will always wait for me, I'm sure, and I can always go there with the show and perform because they always have waited for me, so to speak. So that's my attitude about if I don't get there this time, then I can take half a year's rest or more and then go. So I don't want to push myself that far. I just want to say I want to get this one out of the way and get that one in America out of the way because that's a bit of business dealing with Hanes commercial. I'm Hanes hosiery. Yeah, we're going to do it in the desert. Can you imagine stockings with dust on it? Well, that's Tina Turner, isn't it? Well, anyhow, that's going to be fun, I think. And they want me to do a bit of promotion, and hopefully we can bring them over to Europe with that line as well. So, yeah, and then but I'm sure everything will be all right. I'm sure we'll go to Australia, but it's not something that I want to put my print on at the moment.
Well, as an adoptive Australian, I know how much they love you, and actually, if you're down there, I hope I'll see you in Roger's backyard again, doing all the horsing around that we had fun doing back in, what year was that now? It was probably a good 5 years ago. But anyway, hope I see you down there with Rog, and I wish you the best of luck on your big world tour for Wildest Dreams. Best of luck with the album, Tina, and happy holidays to you and Erwin.
Yes, thank you so much, Tina. It was just such a delight. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, this is Tina Turner, wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
Oh.